Okay, hello everybody. David McGuffin here. It is August the 24th, 2021, and welcome to Travel Talk Tuesday. Tonight, I'm dealing with my favorite Tuscan hill town of Volterra. This is not the first time I've had a series about this on Travel Talk Tuesday, nor will it be the last. But I realized this morning, as I spent the morning compiling a decade worth of video and photos from Volterra, that I had way too much to include just for the night. So I can already tell you that next week is part 2 of Volterra. And then there's probably going to be more parts and more parts as we continue on. But I was fortunate enough to be in Volterra in the middle of July of this year, just a little over a month ago. And we spent 5 days at the Podere Macampo, the villa that we use for our villa tours. And I was there with Charlotte, my wife, and my son, Brian, and his wife, Lori, our 2 grandkids, Lillian and Julia, and Lori's parents, Ralph and Doris. And we had a great time being in Volterra and reconnecting post-COVID. And I can tell you that things were going just fine then. As far as recovery from COVID, all the businesses were back in business. The restaurants were all open. The museums were open. So everything was going great. And I also am happy to report that I've been in contact with some friends who have been in Volterra just last week, and there has been no change. So even looking at the photos that they have posted online, there's even more people there on the streets, less masks being seen, and no restrictions or anything else. So very happy with that. And without further ado, let me just start this video here, and I'll talk through some of it, and then some of it will be already pre-recorded with my voice or other people's voice. And so the first person you're going to meet here is Annie Adair, and she lives in Volterra, and she's our go-to tour guide when we visit Volterra. So many of you I see on screen have been to Volterra, and you know where it is, but this is a map of central Italy, and Volterra is a small little town there.
Hey, David McGuffin here in my favorite hill town in all of Italy, Volterra. So we're up at the top of town. It's the passeggiata hour. My family's over here doing a little shopping, and so we're going to look around this town of Volterra. I'll tell you a little bit about it as we go through that. I'm getting people are looking over my shoulder and everything, so I'm getting off task here. But this is the main drag. And so this time of the day, of the evening, is when everyone, all the locals, get out and take a stroll, maybe get an aperitivo or gelato, and all of that, and get out and meet and greet one another. So we're at the best time to travel here. We're about 1,200 feet above sea level, so it's sort of cool, but it's been extremely hot the last few days here in Italy, so it's nice to get a little breeze up and down this alley. All right, let's take a look around Volterra. Well,
oh, did you ever send me that video for the dinner last night?
no, I didn't, but I have it.
I need to add it because
That was one of the main drags going through the center of Volterra. This is from the a piazza that looks out across the Volterran countryside, looking back to the north. And here is looking from the main parking area, main square in Volterra, looking out. This is kind of to the southeast. You know, Americans love to see laundry hanging in Italian towns. I don't know why.
You do know where I am. I just now got your text.
In the evenings, about an hour and a half before dark, there's an annual or a daily stroll called the passeggiata. and we're participating in that. That's Lillian and Julia, my granddaughters, doing their own little videos. This is the Etruscan Gate, and the lady in the blue dress is Annie Adair, and she's a friend of mine who I've known for, gosh, 17, 18, 19, 20 years. I don't remember how long, but she's a wonderful tour guide there in Volterra. If you tuned into my previous episodes about Volterra, I had Annie and her husband, Francesco, on, and we talked extensively about, that was back in last December, believe it or not. We talked about how Volterra was doing with the COVID-19 pandemic and what they were doing to prepare for Christmas and everything else. But Annie is a great guide, and she leads about a 2-hour walking tour through town with all of my groups. And we're standing here at this Etruscan Gate. Now, the Etruscans predated the Romans, so they were around the 8th century BC. And so they were a group of people who settled and had big city-states, I guess you would call them, in 8 different locations were the centers of them, all through central Italy, from just north of Rome up through Tuscany. And they were a very advanced society. And again, I said they predated the Romans. And so this Etruscan Gate was here way before the Romans occupied Volterra or anything else. And so Annie's telling this one tour group about the Etruscan Gate. And the gate has been there, as you can imagine, for almost 2,500 years or so. There it is. And this is the original gate. And then up above, in the Middle Ages, the Volterrans went ahead and fortified that gate and completed a wall around the entire city as well. So, but that's the original Etruscan Gate. And many say that many say that we think that the Romans invented this rounded arch, but here is evidence right here that predates Roman times by 4 centuries at least. And the Etruscans have this arch right here. So we really think that the Etruscans really founded and invented that rounded arch with the keystone in it. An interesting thing is it sat there and it's been intact for centuries and centuries and centuries. But then in the closing days of World War II, the Germans had totally occupied the city of Volterra, and they were storing armor and ammunition within the city walls of Volterra, since it was so well fortified since the Middle Ages. And what happened was that the Germans were ready to blow up this Etruscan Gate to keep the Americans from invading. And the Americans, as you recall, in June of 1943 at the time, were making their way up the Italian peninsula and had gone past Rome and were into what we now know as Tuscany. And the Americans were just kicking the Germans and the fascists out and Mussolini's army. And so the Germans were going to blow up the city gates so that the Americans could not use that as a way to get through the city over to Florence. Well, what happened was that these are photos I found in an archive, is that the local people said, no, please do not blow up our gate. And they pulled up all the stones in the street and they put them in the gate, which made the gate non-functional. And there you can see it right there. And it made the gate non-functional, so therefore no one could drive through it anyway. And therefore the Germans said, well, that's fine. Don't worry about it. We're not going to blow the gate up. It can't be used. So they saved that 2,500-year-old gate by pulling up the stones in that street leading down there. So when you go to Volterra, make sure you ask me or Annie or whoever's with you there, where is that gate? And it's called the gate, the Porta alla Etruscano, and or ask where that street is that all the stones were pulled up from. Because after the event was done and the Americans came in and liberated the city, they pulled the stones down and put them right back in there again. Interesting story. It's amazing how history is connected.
Hey, David McGuffin here. We're in.
Can you all hear that? I guess it's
Volterra, my favorite place in all of Tuscany, standing in the main piazza here. The City Hall is the oldest one in all of Italy, and we're going to do a walkabout town here to kind of get an idea of what Volterra has to offer all of us as we travel. So your adventure starts right here in Volterra with David McGuffin's Exploring Europe.
just some little scenes from the city. It's an old town, and what you see really dates from the 11th and 12th centuries. It's not been changed since then. The local wine shop I love to go to, Massimo owns this place. Wine, balsamic vinegar, olive oil, you can all get there. This is in September, so you see it's kind of cool. It's about 1,200 feet above sea level. So it's a lot cooler than sea level is in Italy. This is the main piazza, the Piazza de Priori, and this is panning over to the City Hall, which dates from, I think 1236, I believe, is when the City Hall was constructed. 12 something. Another view of the Etruscan gate from the inside the gate. And this is a tour group. I filmed a little bit when Annie was leading the tour. And then this pans out to the Roman theater, which is just below this, and looking back to the north through the mountains of Tuscany. And this is a baptistry. And all churches or all religious places. I made a mistake of putting a piece of salami in my mouth when I got to talk. This is the Basilica of Santa Maria Assunta of the Assumption. And in 2019, it had gone through 2 years of renovation and cleaning up. And so I was in there in September of 2019, like a week after it had reopened. And everything was cleaned up and spruced up and everything. But this church is known for having artists who were very innovative and were centuries ahead of their time as far as showing three-dimensional figures, as opposed to, because in the 1200s it was all flat, two-dimensional stuff. This is the inside of the church, or the coffered ceiling, with these wonderful frescoes up here. This is the Assumption, where the angel is telling Mary that she's pregnant with Jesus. This is on the pulpit, the Last Supper. And this is a famous wood carving here of what's called the Deposition of Christ. And notice it's from 1228, but yet it's all three-dimensional. And that did not happen in the Middle Ages. So the Volterrans were innovative, the artists there were innovative in being able to realize. Hey, David McGuffin here in my kitchen at home here in Middleburg, Florida. This afternoon, I'm making some pizza dough. So I'm gonna stop that because I'm gonna tell you right now that I filmed this yesterday, or maybe Sunday, I think. And I wanted to show you how to make a real pizza from Tuscany. And it evolved into being about a 15-minute process, but it's a good teaching moment. But I'm gonna just tell you what I'm gonna be drinking during the time that I'm making pizza is, this is wine from our local supermarket, Publix. And it's called Montepulciano d'Abruzzo. Montepulciano d'Abruzzo is a type of grape, Montepulciano grape, that grows in the region of Abruzzo. So Abruzzo is another province, just like Tuscany is and everything else. This stuff's pretty good to drink every day, and it's about, I think they had it on sale for $11, a big bottle. This is a liter and a half of wine. So that's what I'm kind of sipping on. So feel free to get up, get you a snack, do anything, and I'll let this run and let this version of David McGuffin tell you how to make some real pizza. And if you can see in the background here, I've got one with the extra dough I had. I just made it. So we're going to be cooking that for dinner tonight as well. I wish you were here to share it with me. Thanks to my friends at Podere Marcampo. Here, I got their apron on. In Volterra, Italy. This is their recipe they use for pizza dough. So it's pretty simple. We don't have the exact kind of flour that they have in Italy, but this works pretty good. This bread flour, you notice that it is high in gluten. It has 12.7% gluten. And then I also have all-purpose flour. Notice that's a little less, 11.7% gluten. The other ingredients are basically some yeast. So this is Fleischmann's yeast, and this is actually instant yeast. So you don't have to mix it in water before you use it. You can pour it in with the dry ingredients. And then also just some warm water. I have my measurements say 1 cup, 0.7 ounces, or 1 cup, 0.7 of water. It comes out to be about 13 ounces or so of water. So, and then one of the most important things that I've found that I can use in the kitchen nowadays is a scale. And since this is a recipe comes from Italy, it's in grams or and not in ounces and pounds. So I use this very frequently, and it has a great feature because I'm going to put all the ingredients together, and then I'm going to mix it in my mixer here, and then let it sit. So let me see if I can go ahead and do that. So the way that I do this is I turn the scale on, and it has a feature called on tare. So I'm going ahead and put this bowl that's going to go on the mixer on here. It says it weighs 1,032 grams. I can hit the on tare feature, and it zeroes that out. And so then basically what I'm going to do is put in 400 grams of bread flour, 200 grams of all-purpose flour into my bowl here. So that's 4/16, a little bit too much. That's right at it. And then add another 200 grams in, making a total of 600 of all-purpose flour. That's easy math. And that is 602 right there. So that's pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and dump my yeast in it as well. So I've got 611 grams of dry ingredients here. I'm also going to put in what they say in Volterra, a coffee spoon worth of sugar and a coffee spoon worth of salt. So a coffee spoon, we just... I'm gonna correct him, it's a teaspoon actually. Let me grab that out of here. I'm sorry, I don't have that prepared. So a tablespoon of salt, a tablespoon of just regular sugar. Got this in these little canisters, which I picked up some years back in Siena, I believe it was. No, Orvieto, where was that? Not very good at thinking on my feet either. Here's the sugar. I believe it was Orvieto, is where I picked that up, which is not in Tuscany, it's in Umbria.
So I got all my dry ingredients there together. I'm also going to put about a half a cup of olive oil. I'm going to just eyeball that. Put it in the dough hook. Turn it on speed number 2 and slowly pour the water in. As I slowly pour the water in here.
I'm holding this up. Maybe you can hear me over the video, but Claudia at Claudia Del Duca at the villa that we stay at, we have a cooking class when we stay at the villa tour, and she prepares a recipe book that has all the recipes for everything you cook in it. So that's what I use. I've been using for years, and the pizza dough recipe is in here as well.
And then when it start wrapping itself up the dough hook, I'm going to pull it back down, let it go for about another minute, and then let it rest. So once that's done, I put a little all-purpose flour on top of it, and I'm going to cover it with a towel and set it aside in the dry kitchen for about 2 hours. And then come back and knead it, and it'll be ready to work for my pizza dough later on. Okay, so the dough's set here for, gosh, 2.5 hours. I've taken it out of the container and put it over here on a little all-purpose flour. This is more dough than I need for one pizza, so I'm gonna cut it in half. Save the other part for another day. I just kind of like to put it together, tuck the edges under like this. Then I'll put it in a baggie and save that portion. And this is the one we're going to work with in a few minutes. But first, before I do that, let me go over here to the vegetables. And the vegetables that are going to go on the pizza, there's only 4. Or 3 vegetables. So an onion I've sliced. I like big slices of onion this way. These are mushrooms. You can use fresh mushrooms, but I don't have any that are right now, and these little canned mushrooms taste just fine. I wash them off with the juice and then drain them, let them dry a little bit, maybe dry them in a paper towel. And then this is a bell pepper, and I'm just gonna cut the white pulp stuff out of it a little bit, and then maybe do it and slice this like that. And I'll also include pepperoni as well. And then, so we're going to use tomato sauce, my normal standard recipe for tomato sauce, onion, pepperoni, mushroom, and mozzarella cheese. And that's what we're going to put on the pizza in a few minutes. But now my vegetables are prepared. Okay, so in the oven, it's of course not on right now, but we have a pizza stone.
That's going to remind me to turn the oven on right now for our dinner tonight as well.
The oven, and I'm going to set the oven on bake. I'm going to put it the highest I can go, 500 degrees, and let all that heat up for about 30 minutes before I put the pizza in to bake. I have the pizza on this board along with a parchment paper covering, and so I'll show you that coming up next. Okay. So I began by pushing the dough down into a small circle, maybe 10 inches in diameter or so. I like the crust, not like thick crust like we would get here at home at the pizzerias that we would go to, but a little bit thinner than that. And with this flour that I used, with the high gluten content, it's going to be it'll stick together a little bit better and a little more stretchy. Roll it out, and the trick to doing this is you roll it out and let it sit for a minute or two until the gluten loses some of this elasticity, and then you roll it again. So I'm going to let it rest like this for...
That's a very important step, is to let it rest before you finally roll it out again.
Okay, everything's rested here for about 4 or 5 minutes. I'll give it the final rolling before I put it on the pizza board. You can see it's pretty thin, maybe 1/8 of an inch or so, and see how it rolls out pretty well right there. Next step, I can transfer this to my pizza board. You might have been able to see that. I just picked it up and put it there, and then the ingredients start to go on. This is my own tomato sauce, multi-purpose.
And let me stop that just a second. I'll come in here full screen later on, but the wine is Montepulciano d'Abruzzo. Brian, I think you asked me that question by way of messenger, and the brand is Winemaker's Collection. I don't know if you can get it, but I got it at Public Supermarket. But any Montepulciano d'Abruzzo wine is inexpensive and really good local table wine from Italy.
I think I've showed you that in a few Travel Talk Tuesdays, but it's a pretty good plan. Pretty thin coat. Of the base. You can see my sauce is not pureed, it's chunky, and that's the way I like it, for no matter what we use it for. But it's a combination of only thing is onions, San Marzano canned tomatoes, old canned tomatoes, and some salt, pepper, spices, olive oil, and that's it. So there we go with that. Now for the bell peppers, you could dice them if you want to. It just gives it a little more body, a little more strength, a little more texture if you can do it in this manner. May stagger in a little bit.
It seems like this is my audition for the cooking channel or something. I didn't realize it was taking so long when I was doing it. Thanks for putting up with
You
it.
can see rather large, I like rather large chunks of onions. Again, more bite, more texture, not little pieces. In this respect, it's more like when you see focaccia with onions on it. Those mushrooms, I drained, put them in a paper towel, wrung them out, and just strategically place all over the pizza. Again, probably, well, for me, a better taste would be if you used fresh mushrooms, or even if you can get them in season. In Italy, they have fresh porcini mushrooms, which are
Porcini
just wonderful.
are fresh in the
They
fall,
actually have a
so
whole
like
lot of taste to
September,
them. But that's seasonal.
October are great times
And
for
so
porcini
out of
mushrooms
season,
in Tuscany.
The Italians even use fresh grown mushrooms that like we have, but they have a whole lot more taste. And then finally, we'll put the pepperoni on. So 3 vegetables, the onion, the yellow bell pepper, and the mushrooms. Now the protein here is the pepperoni. Of course, you could do this anything you wanted to. If you wanted to add sausage to it, or prosciutto, or whatever, you could certainly incorporate any ingredient you want to on your own pizza. But it's a very simple project, and it's a whole lot more healthy, I think, than what you would get from ordering it from one of the takeaway pizzas. And finally, mozzarella cheese. And pop it in the oven for about 8 to 10 minutes, and it's ready to go. Okay, so I think the pizza's done. Coming out of the oven. As a matter of fact, I left it in here a minute too long. Oh, Charlotte was messing around with the phone too long on my camera. So there we go, we have it. It looks pretty good, actually.
Charlotte just walked in. She's sitting over here giving me a sour look.
I know one thing, it's hot. I was thinking while this was cooking that, you know, the Italians don't have pizzerias like Little Caesars or Pizza Hut or whatever. So anytime in Italy, the pizzeria is a family-owned pizzeria. So it's okay, I think, just to go to the family-owned pizzeria and get a takeaway. Because it's not these fast food chain pizzerias pizza. It's all fresh ingredients and things like that. So, and they take pride of it. And I can think, like in Volterra, that you know, there's at least 5 pizzerias in Volterra. So that's it. That's my pizza. Buon appetito. We'll catch you later when we eat it.
This is Podere Macampo. This is where the wine comes from that I drink a lot, where we stay on the Tuscan Villa tour. Someone asked me today, I want a room with a view. Every room has a view here because it's on a mountaintop. And so it's beautiful. These are the vineyards. Those are Merlot grapes right there. And this is where we stay. And I filmed this back in July as well with my drone. So that was a pretty good drone flight right there.
I will. Okay, so we have finally arrived in Podere Marcampo. You can see the vines in the back, Merlot wines. Lori and Brian are jet lagged for 3 days of traveling. What do you guys think about it?
That's Brian, my son, and Lori, my daughter-in-law.
Yeah, yeah. And we have plenty of wine, plenty of prosecco, and we're going to have a great meal sooner or later. It's a true Italian meal. You know, at home an Italian meal is about 2 hours. Here it's about 4. But
uh-oh.
There's barely any grapes, but there's We're in Italy.
Sorry.
Lori and Brian are jet lagged for 3 days of traveling. What do you guys think about where we are?
It's gorgeous.
Amazing.
Yeah, yeah. And we have plenty of wine, plenty of prosecco, and we're going to have a great meal sooner or later. It's a true Italian meal. You know, at home an Italian meal is about 2 hours. Here it's about 4. But they'll be ready to go to bed as soon as that happens. Okay? Ciao, buonasera. Okay, David McGuffin here. We are at Podere Macapa, one of my favorite, or my best favorite agriturismo here in Tuscany. And you see the vines behind us. We have our Lillian's here with me, and we're watching this sunset. Look at it back here. It is beautiful.
I'm taking pictures.
Yeah.
I'm a movie star.
Julia,
right
come in
now.
here and get in here in this picture too.
I'm a movie star.
Yeah. So there's a sunset back here. Look at it going down to the west over those mountains to the Ligurian Sea. And let's pan over this way just so we can see the vineyards.
Look at beautiful.
Look at this.
There's barely any grapes, but there's We're in Italy right now.
We're in Italy. In what region of Italy? So how do you say good evening in Italian?
Buongiorno.
Buonasera. Buonasera.
Buonasera, Claudia. Thank you for letting me.
Yeah, isn't it wonderful? So here comes the sunset. Mimi, you ought to come in and get this video.
Here, let me.
No, come over here. You should get it with us.
Okay.
And then we can,
In our video.
yeah. So our part of our families here is great. It's wonderful for everybody to be here. And that sunset is
It's amazing.
phenomenal. Look at it going down. Like ciao bella. That's pretty appropriate. Look at all those hues of orange, and catch it in your hand there.
That looks like my nails, doesn't it?
The two of y'all come right here.
Okay, tonight we're having our first dinner at Marcampo. We have roasted potatoes that I cooked, green beans that I cooked. And Brian cooked the sausage and hamburger, chianina beef, which is a famous white cow from right here in Tuscany. And earlier we had, really fresh tomatoes. What, Lillian?
I put way too much seasoning on my, I put way too much pepper on my sausage. And,
We didn't need any, so. So earlier we had tomatoes and burrata, 2 helpings of that. And so we have a great beginning of our trip here. And I go to Turismo Marcampo in Volterra. Okay? This is the wine cellar, newly renovated at Marcampo. So if you've been there before, you've not even seen this.
One more time, it's the echo. Why do we use the oak barrel? To get the piece that we get from the land, so okay, oak is a preservative for wine. If it was for the flavor, we would have used many different kind of trees, right? Cedar, whichever. But
And we happened to be there in September a few years ago, and we're in the wine harvest. That's why I do a villa tour in September, just because it usually happens every time we're there. And so Genuino there is in the red shirt, dumping the grapes in there, de-stemming, and the juice is being pumped up into this big stainless steel vat to have their first fermentation. Just picked an hour ago in the vineyard. You can see a little bit of how it dries up over. And we also, at the Villa Tour, we do a cooking class as well. And the cooking lasts about an hour or so. Oh gosh, probably about 2 hours. And then we put it all together and have a great dinner or lunch with the fruits of our labor. So this is one of the groups cooking under the direction of Claudia and her mother, Chef Ivana. They're making the pasta right now, which is what I'm doing for you next week on Travel Talk Tuesday. Pretty good, lad. We're gonna have some good ravioli. There's the dining room area that overlooks Tuscany at Podere Macapa. Just a great place to have a trip. And their pool. This was filmed early morning. Clouds are in the distance. And a look at the vineyards in the springtime.
when everything is green, wheat and all back in the background. Okay, so that concludes Travel Talk Tuesday for tonight. I appreciate you guys hanging in there and especially watching me cook pizza. I guarantee it turns out to be pretty good. And I wanted to do that just because the whole process is fairly simple and it's easy to do. And it's a lot better than you ordering out from Pizza Hut or Little Caesars or anywhere else. So thank you guys for tuning in tonight. Next week, we are going to be talking again about Volterra. There's a whole segment worth of going to my my most favorite wine bar, La Vena de Vino, and doing some tasting of wine and having a party there and everything else. We'll also be looking at the Etruscan Museum next week and a little bit more about Volterra and the surrounding countryside. So I hope you'll join in for next week. And then again, make sure you check out my website. We're going to Tuscany in September, mid-September. And if you guys have got flexible travel plans, text me or call me or send me an email. And I'd love to have you join us because we got some space available. So we're doing the Villa Tour beginning, gosh, I think the 17th of September, maybe something like that. When is it? Everybody's telling me no. We're beginning the Villa Tour, 13th of September. How about that? 13th, 14th, 15th September, something like that. And then we have the Best of Italy Tour and the Essence of Italy Tour beginning the 26th of September. So if you guys are interested in joining me or anybody that might want to do that, give me a call, text, email, and we'll set you up with a special deal. Hey, thanks so much. We'll see you next week. Thanks for seeing Travel Talk Tuesday. Bye-bye.